ridiculed their God and ridiculed whatever that was in them and made them look like they were nobody. And this young man that had his uncircumcised Philistine bro and talked to them in such a disdainful manner that his spirit was agitated. And he remembered there is a God in Israelites. He challenged this man to a fight. We know the entire story. I'm not here to recount it, but I'm trying to build to what we are going to discuss today. Because the first encounter recorded with Jonathan happened as a result of the victory in this war. Are we in order? As far as I know, their first encounter happened as a result of the victory. One. The Bible records that that war spoke that he wanted to give this man a challenge in the name of the Lord. And his brothers never believed him. He kept whispering until he was brought before the king. And the king provided him with some armor. The armor the Bible recorded he found so heavy because he was used to them. And he came forth to challenge these giants with a little, what would they call a catapult. Don't know what it's called in England. Mind you, I'm not from this country, so I may use things that I did not quite. Is it a sling? That's what it's called. The Bible also mentioned a sling. And he chose how many stones? 5 stones. And these stones were smooth. He came to challenge this giant. And this giant saw him and became very angry that he's been insulted. And he told him that you have come to challenge me with bars and arrows and javelins. But today I come to confront you in the name of the Lord of Israel. This is one of the prominent stories David is known for, isn't it? And in the process, we know all what happened. He had no sword. But the sword that belongs to Saul was too heavy for him to carry. He propelled using his sling one of those stones which caught the forehead of the giant. And this giant came tumbling down. He rushed and stood over him, helped himself with Gloria's sword, and got his head off his member. It was reported that while they were returning from this war, women got involved. They composed a song, and that song was not a good one for the king himself. They said that Saul, who had been their king, another mighty man in battle, has killed thousands. But this young man has killed how many? Tens of thousands. Oh. He could not bear it. However, this young man was invited over to his house. And when they got to his house, the king spoke to him and was very happy. At least he has removed the shame that was upon Israel at that battlefront. However, he was also concerned that maybe another giant is beginning to emerge to challenge his kingship, his authority in that land. But if you are a student of the Bible, you will realize that when Saul has finished speaking to David, something was happening in the mind of Jonathan. Is that true? I don't know whether it's in the Bible. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 18. Whoever says it should pray. We start with verse 1.
And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was linked with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day and would let him go no more home to his father's house. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him and gave it to David and his garments, even to his sword and to his bow and to his girdle. And David, number 5, David went out whithersoever Saul sent him and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the, and also in the sight of Saul's servants.
Thank you very much. As Saul was making an end to the speech, welcoming this young man from a battle that recorded great success. I think tomorrow that the English players or the England team will be playing which country? This Spain. I can guarantee you they win that match. Then they have a trip to Buckingham Palace. Is that true? It is a kind of event because since was it 1966 that it came home. It hasn't come home again. Hello? Peradventure it comes home tomorrow. They might have a trip to the king's palace. A similar thing. And as the king was wrapping up his speech, there was a connection between the hero and the prince. The few things I read said they became friends, and that friendship was platonic for those who discuss love as the prince. They didn't become husband and wife. I want to be clear on that one. They became friends. You can see their souls were what? Mates. Did you find that one? Their soul became mates together, and the covenant was established. It all started well. There were no issues, as I said earlier on. But once the women began to sing that song, that angered Saul. And he began from that time henceforth to keep his eyes on this man. Going forward, another war broke out. You know, at that time it was war after war and after war, where there were conquering nations. And in this particular war, Saul did not survive it. Jonathan did not survive it. His brothers did not survive it. Am I making sense? You know, in kingship, there are successors to the throne. In England, I don't really know how it works, but I've been told that Prince William is the closest to the throne should the father keep the puppet. Jonathan was the closest to the throne should Saul keep the pulpit. In the absence of Jonathan, his brothers, one of his brothers will succeed him. In the absence of all those, any son of Jonathan will become what? The king. But unfortunately, without plan, Saul joined his ancestors. He was not really killed, as the Bible has the story, but he realized he would not make it alive. He fell on his own sword, and when he saw his situation meant that he would never die, he didn't want to prolong his death. He spoke to someone to finish it off, and that person did as the king requested. So when David heard that Saul is no more, Jonathan is no more, the brothers are no more, Did he rejoice? Hello? Did he rejoice?
No.
What did he do? What did he do? He mourned. He grieved. Not the crocodile sort of tears. He wept bitterly because he has lost a friend. Because if you read chapter 18, 19, 20 of the book we are focusing on, you will see how Saul sought to kill David and how Jonathan began to reveal wherever he gets a little hint that it was going to happen, he reveals it to him. And he makes sure the father never killed him. Tracking back a little bit in the life of this man called David. Despite the fact that he was being pursued to be killed, this man has thrown javelin at him and missed him narrowly. This man has pursued him that he became homeless and kept running. And he was monitoring him, even though there were no GPS then. Yes, he had a way of monitoring wherever he had gone to. At some point, it was recorded that this king got tired and fell asleep. This man, David, and his own troop came close and saw where he was. I want us to pay attention to him. And when they got there, remember that David also had those with him. And one of those with him, what was his name? Abishai, a very mighty man of war. They had the opportunity to kill his enemy. In fact, they reference the Bible that the Lord has presented before you today your enemy. Don't do it yourself. Let me, he said, I promise I'll strike it once and it will be over. What did David say? David remembered that this man in question has anointing on his head. He said, you cannot do this. I'm trying to characterize the person of David. He walked closer to the king, cut off a tip of the garment he was wearing. The Bible records that even this simple act, he was sorrowful that he has cut. Your enemy presented before you at a clean range. He was out to kill you. Even in England, he claimed self-defense. Are we together? He would have adduced reasonable ground to say, if I did not do this, I honestly believe he would have a kind of invoked the doctrine of honesty. I would believe that if I did not finish this man off, he would certainly have killed him. But he let him go for trying to find out how this man did. But he is fondly remembered wrongly for his misbehavior with Uriah's wife. Are we together? People talk about that much. And in order to cover his shameful act, he also sent Uriah to the hottest part of the battle, where he met his water. This man also made another mistake. Israel were not to be counted. They did conduct a census. They conducted a census. We are trying to characterize the man that, despite all this mistake, as a man after God's own heart, when his enemy was before him to be killed, he declined the invitation. At that time, it wasn't for the sake of Jonathan. Are we together? Was it? At that time, it was as a result of the same spirit that was in Joseph's mind, why he said, how then shall I do this great wickedness and sin against you? That was the mindset he had. The same mindset all saints are meant to have. The same mindset I'm employing you this afternoon to have, to say, How then shall I do this great wickedness and sin against God? It was just at that singular point, that singular reason that made him hesitate to finish up. Moving forward, bear in mind that the covenant has been established between Jonathan and who? And David. And symbolically, from what we read, some of the apparel that belongs to Jonathan, royal apparels, he has already handed it over to who? Did he envisage that he was going to die on time? We do not know. Maybe the elders in the church and those who study theology may know. Was he anointing this man king even before he became king? We do not know. But after this man died, and the news came to David, like I've repeated, he was astonishing that this had happened. And David intoned a lamentation over Saul and his son Jonathan. And if you read in 2 Samuel, you would find the account when this story was made known to him that he came up with a song. And this song being written, he proposed that it should be learned. And that song said, "Your glory, O Israel, lies splendid upon the high places. How the mighty have fallen." The writers mentioned, is it like that? Who wrote about this, how the mighty have fallen? For those that did literature. How many we have had that felt like and remember? Tell it not in God, proclaim it not in the streets of Ascalon, or the daughters of the Philistines will rejoice, the daughters of the uncircumcised will exult. Your mountain of Gilboa, let there be no deep or red upon you, nor burnt as field. For there the shield of the mighty was defiled, the shield of Saul, anointed with oil no more. From the blood of the slain, from the fat of the mighty, the bow of Jonathan did not turn back. Nor the sword of Saul returned empty. Saul and Jonathan belonged and loved. In life and in death, they were not divided. They were swifter than eagles, they were stronger than lions. All the others of Israel weep over Saul. Who clothed you with crimson in luxury? Who put ornaments of gold on your apparel? How the mighty have fallen in the midst of the battle. Jonathan lies slain upon the high places. I express for you, my brother, Jonathan. Greatly beloved, you were to me. Your love to me was wonderful, passing the love of a woman. How the mighty have fallen, and the weapons of war perished. Very touching. Where I got caught up is where he said, I am distressed for my brother, Jonathan. Greatly beloved, you were. In the book of 2 Samuel chapter 4, verses 4, I also want to read. Let's identify another person that is a main character in this discourse.
Samuel
Yeah,
4,
verse 4.
verse 4. I read. And Jonathan, Saul's son, had a son that was lame of his feet. He was 5 years old when the tidings came of Saul and Jonathan out of Jezreel, and his nurse took him up and fled. And it came to pass, as she made haste to flee, that he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth.
Another important figure in today's discourse is called who? Mephibosheth. It might be a mouthful for some of us. How old was he? 5. When they lost his father. Who was the mother? Who was the mother of Mephibosheth? Hello, who was the mother of Mephibosheth? Who was David's wife? So who was? Okay, let me leave that because very difficult for us to establish. But one thing I also want to point, it also seemed like David was a son-in-law to Saul. Is that true? Huh? Was he? So this man that died, it's not just the king, it is his what? Father-in-law. And Jonathan is his what? Brother-in-law. Because David is married to Saul's second daughter as part of a reward for winning the war. Do we remember? If you don't remember this, go back to the Bible and you will find out. What are we saying? This young boy, when this news came, he was being taken away by the girl that was looking after him. And in the process, he fell and broke his legs and he became lame. But I was doing some research, I was told that because there is still a hair left that could take over the throne during that time, even David would have been after this little one to eliminate him completely, to make sure that that kingship is secure within his own family. Moving actually to where we are to situate our discourse this afternoon, which is 2 Samuel chapter 9, verses 1 to 12. I implore you to think about the covenants established, because we live in a world where contracts are made even before the ink dry up. For the ones that are written, some of us have been made. Are we together? Some of us have people that helped us in the past, people that denied themselves contracts to accommodate us. And now that the Lord has blessed us, we do not remember how good they were to us. We are beginning to reward them, even for good. So when David realized that his father-in-law was gone, his close friend was gone, the brothers had gone, I'm not entirely sure if David knew that Jonathan would still have a son. Because if you read from where we are going now, we also want to read the book of 2 Samuel chapter 9, verses 1 to 13. I want someone to read it.
Now David said, is there still anyone who is left of the house of Saul that shall be showing kindness for Jonathan's sake?
Thank you. Thank you. Let's stop it. This is what informed my statement. I'm not entirely sure he knew someone was left. But he remembered there was a covenant. And that covenant is that he had made a promise to his friend Jonathan, which includes looking after his family, which includes not taking arms against his family. And when we come to church, we've also made some commitments. When a child is dedicated in church, we say we will contribute. We look after that child. Is that true? And when we had our weddings, we also promised our father-in-laws, I will look after your daughter. Am I speaking to someone? You told your father-in-law, I will look after your what? Your daughter. My question then, to what extent have you kept this promise in the light of what David is going to do as we're going to do? To what extent are you as a Christian giving to the terms of agreement you have entered? Let's continue reading.
And there was a servant of the house of Saul, whose name was Ziba. So when they had called him to David, the king said to him, Are you Ziba? He said, At your service. Then the king said, Is there still not a son of the house of Saul to whom I may show the kindness of God? And Ziba said to the king, There is still a son of Jonathan who is here in his field.
Thank you. Ziba seemed to know that family quite well. From what we read. Is that true? How come you could not remember the name of this guy? And he characterized him as someone who is what? That's not his name. He was not born that way. Could he not have said he's got a son? And his name is. He chose introducing in a way I find slightly offensive. But I am not here to make a judgment on that kind of introduction. But whatever it is, was he saying that to abuse the mind of David to think otherwise? Clearly, you can see that the mindset of Ziba and the mindset of David were at par. Are we together? Because for what we're going to read now, once David had, there is still a soul alive in that family. He did not renege in his promise. Let's read that. What did David say?
So the king said to him, Where is he? And Ziba said to the king, Indeed, he is in the house of Maachah, the son of Amiel, in Lodeba. Then King David said and brought him out of the house of Maachah, the son of Amiel, from Lodeba. Now, when Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, had come to David, he fell on his face and prostrated himself. Then David said, Mephibosheth, and he answered, Here is your servant. So David said to him, Do not fear, for I will surely show you kindness from Jonathan, your father's sake, and will restore to you all the land of Saul, your grandfather, and you shall eat bread at my table continually. Then he bowed himself and said, What is your servant that you should look upon such a dead dog as I? And the king called to Ziba, Saul's servant, and said to him, I have given to your master's son all that belongs to Saul and to all his house. You therefore and your son and your servant shall walk the land for him, and you shall bring in the harvest, that your master's son may have food to eat. But Mephibosheth, your servant's son, shall eat bread at my table always. Now Ziba had 20 sons and 20 servants. Then Ziba said to the king, According to all that my lord the king has commanded the servant, so will your servant do. As for Mephibosheth, said the king, he shall eat at my table like one of the king's sons. Mephibosheth had a young son, whose name was Micah, and all who went to the house of Ziba were servants of Mephibosheth. So Mephibosheth dwelt in Jerusalem, for he ate continually at the king's table, and he was named in those feasts.
Thank you very much. Despite the fact that this guy was led, he was placed in an exalted position to eat at the king's table. It's one of the greatest honor anyone can think of. Which means he was born a prince and he remained a what? A prince. He never demoted himself because you have some form of disability. It's changed. And we live in a world where people treat those that have some form of disability until they are less people. That is not the character of a Christian. The character of a Christian, from what we are reading today, is that people should be treated first and foremost as a what? a human being, despite any infirmity they may have, despite any disability, they are precious in God's sight. And in this reading, their fellowship remained their fellowship. So Paul, David never described him or characterized him by the accident that happened to him. In fact, he never even talked about it, as we may notice. All he needed to know that there was someone, because he started the conversation by saying, "Is there someone in the house of Saul that I may show kindness for the sake of who? Why not for the sake of Saul?" Huh? They were in friends, yet he treated him not less a human being. Saul and David were not friends, yet David never harbored enmity against him. As we said before, when he had occasion to eliminate him, did he do that? He did not. That is how the song we started with said, "Thy friends and thy conduct, his goodness shall what? Shall say." And for you to be fit for the service above, there are lessons to be learned from the way David has kept a solemn covenant struck with his good friend and brother Jonathan. Therefore, brethren, hear me and hear me out now. For the sake of Jonathan, since you are surrounded by such a great weakness as we can see here, let us throw away everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, or the race that is set before us. For the sake of Jonathan, brothers and sisters, whatever that is true, whatever that is noble, whatever that is right, whatever that is pure, whatever that is lovely, whatever that is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. For the sake of Jonathan, wives, submit yourselves to your own husband as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their own husbands in everything. For the sake of Jonathan, brothers and sisters, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies, for the sake of Jonathan. He who loves his wives loves himself. Therefore, take heed to the Spirit. For the sake of Jonathan, brethren, children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right, that it may go well with you, and that you may enjoy long life on earth. Fathers, for the sake of Jonathan, do not provoke your children to wrong. Do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of God, for the sake of Jonathan. And for the sake of Jonathan, finally, brethren, be quick in your spirit. No, for the sake of Jonathan, do not be quick in your spirit to be angry for the sake of Jonathan. Anger launches, resides in the heart of fools, and for the sake of Jonathan. Let your conversation always be full of praise, seasoned with salt, that you may know how to answer everything. And I leave you with this quote from Sister White, for those that love to read her books. The greatest want of the world is not the want of men, is the want of men. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. What type of men? Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their innermost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true as the needle is to the pole. Men who will stand up for the right, though the heavens fall. However, such character is not a result of accident. It is not due to special favors or endowments of providence. A noble character, as we have found in the life of David, is a result of self-discipline, of the subjection of the lower to the higher nature, the surrender of self for the service of love to God and man. Ladies and gentlemen, for the sake of Jonathan, keep your promises. Amen. Amen.
Meditation. For the sake of Jonathan, we will rise and sing hymn number 103. Lord our help.
Our Father in heaven, we thank you because you have established your word, and we pray that you, by your grace, your word will richly dwell in our hearts and influence our conduct, that we'll be able to reflect the glory of Him who is calling us out of this darkness into the great and marvelous light. May we, as a result of today's word, have a change in behavior, that we'll be able to keep our promises and our covenants, that we are bound, Lord, to serve you. Lord, pray that you will bless the entire congregation. Anyone that might be here that is not feeling with the Father, will pronounce it. For those that are terrified about listening to your God, we pray that because you live, they may be able to face tomorrow. And we pray, Father, that you will help us as we run this race. We are not wildlife child. And may we be fit for service abroad when the trumpet shall sound. Bless us, we pray, and dismiss us with your love. In Jesus' name, amen.